Pep Guardiola has just sent a serious warning to the rest of the league, especially Arsenal, after Manchester City dismantled Chelsea 3-0 at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. With just 7 games left, City's path is now crystal clear. Win all 7, and they could draw level or even surpass Arsenal in points, putting them in a strong position to snatch yet another Premier League title. However, everything now hinges on their next fixture, a direct clash against Arsenal, which could ultimately decide the fate of the title race. On the other side, Liam Rosenior finds himself under increasing pressure. 4 consecutive league defeats have seen his side's momentum completely collapse, and what once looked like a realistic push for a Champions League spot is now fading rapidly into a dying dream. Now, tactically speaking, this was a fascinating encounter. Both Manchester City and Chelsea set up in a 4-2-3-1 formation on paper. When Chelsea were in possession, their intention was clear: build from the back and manipulate Manchester City's press through intelligent positional rotations. However, what made this battle particularly interesting was how Pep Guardiola adjusted his pressing structure to disrupt that build-up. Chelsea's structure during the first phase was quite fluid. As they built from deep, both fullbacks, Malo Gusto and Marc Cucurella, pushed forward but with different roles. Cucurella would invert into the left half space, effectively becoming an additional midfielder, while Gusto stepped into central areas alongside the pivot. This movement forced Moises Caicedo to drop deeper, forming a back 3 with Wesley Fofana and Jarell Hato, creating a 3-2 base in build-up. Ahead of this structure, Chelsea positioned a box midfield consisting of Cole Palmer, Cucurella, Andre Santos, and Gusto, aiming to overload central zones. Out wide, Pedro Neto and Estevao held the width on either flank, stretching City's defensive shape, while João Pedro operated as the central reference point up front. The idea was simple but effective in theory: crowd the midfield to progress centrally while pinning City's press as wide as possible. But Guardiola anticipated this. Rather than pressing in a conventional 4-4-2 mid-block, City adopted an aggressive 4-2-4 pressing structure, similar to what they previously used against Arsenal. The front 4, Antoine Semenyo, Ryan Cherki, Erling Haaland, and Jeremy Doku, had very specific, almost man-oriented responsibilities. Haaland and Cherki were tasked with cutting off central access. If Cherki blocked the passing lane into Santos, Haaland would simultaneously screen passes into Gusto, effectively isolating Chelsea from progressing through the pivot. On the flanks, Doku and Semenyo played a crucial role in shutting down the half spaces. Doku closing off the right half space to neutralize Palmer, while Semenyo blocked access to Cucurella on the left. Behind them, Rodri and Bernardo Silva provided the second layer of pressure, ready to jump onto any loose touches or vertical passes into midfield. Meanwhile, City's fullbacks stepped high and aggressively onto Chelsea's wingers, ensuring Neto and Estevao had minimal time or space to operate. Chelsea did attempt to find solutions. One recurring adjustment was Gusto drifting wide, either to drag his marker out of position and create space for Palmer to drop deeper, or to receive directly and progress play himself. However, this often played into City's hands. Once Gusto received in wide areas, he was immediately pressed, leading to turnovers in dangerous zones. The more promising route came when João Pedro dropped deeper to offer an additional passing option, briefly helping Chelsea bypass the first line of pressure. But these moments were too infrequent to create sustained control. As a result, Chelsea were often forced into a more direct approach, launching long balls toward Palmer, João Pedro, and Neto in hopes of winning second balls higher up the pitch. However, this only reinforced City's dominance, as it disrupted Chelsea's structure and prevented them from building any real rhythm. Due to their limited options in build-up, Chelsea increasingly relied on transitional moments to threaten Manchester City, particularly immediately after regaining possession or from goalkeeper actions. The idea was to exploit City's temporary defensive instability. Whenever City lost the ball, especially in advanced areas, Chelsea looked to break quickly before Guardiola's side could reorganize their shape. A clear example of this came when João Pedro recovered possession in City's half and instantly drove forward, attempting to attack an exposed back line. In these moments, Chelsea's attacking intent was sharp and direct, aiming to turn defense into attack within seconds. However, this approach naturally came with significant risk. Because these transitions often began from deep areas, Chelsea's structure was usually unsettled. Players were spread out, passing options were limited, and any technical mistake could immediately turn into danger. This vulnerability was evident in another key moment. Robert Sanchez made a save and quickly restarted play, looking to catch City off guard. He found Moises Caicedo, but Caicedo was immediately surrounded by 3 City players. With no clear outlet and under intense pressure, he lost possession in a dangerous zone. From there, the consequence was immediate and brutal. City regained the ball in an advanced position and capitalized, turning Chelsea's attempted counter into a goal-scoring opportunity. This perfectly sums up the double-edged nature of Chelsea's strategy. While counter-attacking offered a route to bypass City's structured press, it also exposed them to high-risk turnovers, especially against a side as tactically sharp and positionally disciplined as Guardiola's Manchester City. When Manchester City were in possession, their approach was as structured as it was fluid. Just like Chelsea, they built from the back using short, controlled passes, but with far greater cohesion and clarity in their positional rotations. In the first phase, City formed a back three with Matheus Nunes, Abdulkadir Kusanov, and Marc Guehi, while Rico O'Reilly inverted into the left half space to support midfield. Ahead of them, Rodri and Bernardo Silva dropped deeper to dictate tempo and provide stability in build-up. Out wide, Jeremy Doku and Antoine Semenyo held the width, stretching Chelsea's defensive structure horizontally. Chelsea responded with an aggressive, man-oriented press. João Pedro led the line by pressing Kusanov. Pedro Neto stepped onto Nunes, and Estevão closed down Guehi. In midfield, Cole Palmer tracked Bernardo Silva. Moises Caicedo followed Rodri, while Marc Cucurella and Malo Gusto pushed onto the wingers. Andre Santos stayed tight to Ryan Cherki, leaving the center-backs, Joel Hato and Wesley Fofana, to deal with Erling Haaland and O'Reilly. The intention was clear: deny City time on the ball, force turnovers, and create immediate counter-attacking opportunities. And to some extent, it worked. Chelsea did manage to disrupt City in moments. But the problem was consistency. City's technical quality and positional intelligence allowed them to repeatedly play through this pressure. Once they bypassed the first line of Chelsea's press, the game opened up completely. Bernardo Silva would push higher into the half spaces, and City would quickly form an attacking structure with 5 players across the front line: Doku, O'Reilly, Cherki, and Semenyo operating behind Haaland. Meanwhile, Matheus Nunes advanced further up the pitch, leaving Kusanov and Guehi alongside Rodri in deeper positions. This created what essentially looked like a 2-2-5-1 shape in Chelsea's half, giving City both numerical superiority and positional control in attacking areas. Ryan Cherki was particularly influential in this phase. He frequently dropped deeper to receive between the lines, helping City progress the ball and carry it into dangerous zones. Out wide, Doku and Semenyo constantly looked to isolate their markers, either driving at them directly or exploiting channels with quick passes and well-timed runs. Their ability to stretch Chelsea's backline created space centrally, which City exploited repeatedly. Crosses and cutbacks became a key weapon, and it was from one of these attacking patterns that City found their breakthrough. Ultimately, City's attacking output told the full story. They registered 18 shots, with 8 on target, and generated an expected goals, XG, value of 2.24, clear evidence of their dominance. Their ability to consistently play through Chelsea's press and translate possession into high-quality chances highlighted not just their tactical superiority, but also the gap in execution between the two sides. In the end, Chelsea clearly have a lot of work to do, both in build-up structure and defensive organization, if they want to compete at the highest level. Meanwhile, Manchester City have sent a strong message, but their title hopes now hinge on one crucial moment: beating Arsenal to keep the dream of lifting the Premier League alive. If you enjoyed this tactical breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Can City catch Arsenal, or is the title race already decided?